Welcome back to SoulNet, friends. Today on the pod, we're exploring what it feels like to live life with an open heart. How do we stay soft when the world feels hard and heavy, and all we want to do is put up bigger walls to keep ourselves safe? We've all had those times of our life where all we want to do is hide and run from the world around us, the reality of our circumstances feeling overwhelming, and we're not sure how we're going to make it through. It's often easier to allow anger and blame to come into play in these situations, either towards ourselves, towards our loved ones, or perhaps a random driver on the road. So today, we'll share some of the things that harden our hearts, some of the things that soften our hearts, and learning to be honest with ourselves and the role that we play in creating the circumstances of our lives. Let's jump in.
I notice, at this stage in life, when we cling and when we are in judgment and when we have all these expectations of others and we're just overwhelmed, we can harden. Our hearts can actually harden because we can't take on anything else.
Yeah.
We become impatient, intolerant, and that is probably menopause too. But I feel like what's guiding me right now is softening, keeping my heart soft.
Very true.
Because we close, we become harder.
Yeah.
Make sure that the people in your life are not so demanding of you, are not taking advantage of you.
Right.
Start to look around and say, I don't want to give my time to that anymore. I don't want to focus on this right now, because if I keep doing this, I'm going to keep getting more angry. I'm going to keep getting more hardened. And then I'm not open and soft. Right? That's not weak. That's staying open and being able to receive.
Yeah.
Like I said to my husband, don't become that hardened, ornery, grumpy old guy. Because guess what? Nobody likes that guy. Nobody. We have to be really honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
Let your soft heart guide you at this stage in your life. Because if we just believe that we can still do all the things and then we feel overwhelmed and angry, and I was nobody wants to be with grumpy anybody.
Do you notice though that he has that soft heart with you or the kids? Does he have that ability to be soft?
Oh, he's so loving.
Yeah.
And so for him, we were having this conversation because I guess selfishly a little bit, I just want that soft heart to continue to stay open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get older and there's aches and there's pains, both in your body and in your life, in your world, you can become hardened.
Yeah.
Pain is one of the most debilitating of whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, it is one of the most debilitating things that we experience as beings here.
Yeah.
I can speak from my experience that the parts of me that were conditioned to serve and caregive, those are the parts that have become hard in midlife. So I have quite a bit in my landscape of my psyche that is open. And I have younger parts as a result of the conditioning that are now hardened. So they coexist actually inside of me. I'm aware of when one is activated or the other is activated. I'm kind of aware of which state I'm in, so to speak. And so your example of your husband is a really interesting one because he's being bombarded by life, as we all are. And these tendencies we have, whether they're conditioning or they're just kind of our free expression within our own dispositions, he's got that, but then he's got the bombardment, which I can really relate to, that bombardment where midlife gives us the freedom to say enough.
That's right.
Instead of making my hardening wrong for myself, it's kind of like part of that wake-up call that we've all been talking about. It's the thing that exists in my system before it turns into illness, before it becomes manifested physically or manifested into an accident or manifested into, whatever the next layer of feedback will be
Yeah.
that will be like, wake up, Eileen.
Hello, it's your soul speaking.
Oh,
Pick up the phone.
your soft heart is like, can't we just sit down and pick up that call? Because I think it's a good one.
Totally.
The midlife conversations with our hard parts. Wow.
Mhm.
Hardened parts. Yeah.
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 Oh.
I know that. I remember someone giving me a journal prompt about what hardens your heart
Right.
and what softens your heart.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mhm.
It's a really beautiful journal prompt that we can return to when we feel, called to, when the soul calls. When you get the call from the soul and it says pick up the phone, you can also just pick up your journal and just journal, like, what is hardening my heart and what softens my heart.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is our superpower.
I just realized something with that journal prompt, Meg, and I'll speak on just my own family. What hardens my heart is being expected to continue to be a supply for someone.
Yeah.
This isn't just even my mom, it's like my eldest
Yeah.
with kind of this being taken care of thing,
Mhm.
like entitlement to my life force energy.
Mm-hmm.
So that hardens my heart, this expectation to continue to be someone's supply. And I think that's why my relationship with my partner works, because he doesn't expect me to be his supply. I have
Yeah.
complete freedom where we give and take to each other with free will, by choice, and by capacity to the best that we can. And so that's what softens my heart, is to be relationally with someone where there's not the expectation of supply. There's just the joy and the living of presence together.
Mhm.
Sometimes we'll trigger each other, which is fine. And then
Yeah.
we'll repair.
Mhm.
Oh, there was a misunderstanding. There was a hiccup.
You're both self-responsible.
Yeah, I'm responsible for me. You're responsible for
Yeah.
you. And let's just relate together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that is like, honestly, like that is, I think, one of the biggest messages that if people could hear out there, just this ability to be honest with the part that we play. What is my contribution to whatever friction that we're experiencing in our lives? And really like owning that. Like it's so powerful within our relationships. If we can all do that, come to the table as saying, oh yeah, like instead of it's you, like, oh, I did this,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to work on that, whatever comes from it. But it's really that awareness of your own part. I think we'd have a really different world if we could actually all take personal responsibility for our own existences. And of course, there are certain populations that doesn't work with, obviously, like young children. You can't expect them to have the same autonomy over themselves, but these are skill sets that you can help them develop.
Mm-hmm.
I remember even in parenting my son, when he got in trouble for one of the first times, I remember having the honest conversation. I said, if you are honest with me about what happened, I will fight for you. If you tell me half truths, I can't be your advocate. And there were times where he had situations in school where he actually was accused of something that was actually this boy lied about it. I had a really honest conversation. I said, Aunt, like, you need to tell me the truth. I'm on your side, but I need you to like share everything with me. He did. These kids need learning. They need to know that it is safe for them to be honest. And as parents, we have to hold space for that. Like, so you did something shitty. Like all of us do something shitty. But owning responsibility and taking responsibility is such an important life lesson that if we can learn that from a young age, we can start to apply that as this like kind of lifelong journey.
Yeah, exactly. In relationship with others, right? Like having honest and open dialogue and being able to reciprocate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you reciprocate if you're not being honest?
That's right.
Yeah. And it starts with yourself. Like, let's take an example of like health and wellness around the foods that we eat. If you eat shit, you will feel like shit. And the idea that like you're actually sticking to a healthy regime, yet you're having like 12 cookies instead of one cookie. And you're not being honest with yourself with what you're doing. Or you say you work out, yet you're really maybe hitting the gym once a week.
Yeah.
And then nothing else. And I'm not judging anybody for any of these things, but like you have to be real until you are real, change cannot happen.
That's true.
And it's fucking hard to do.
So true. Like I learned later in life that
Mhm.
I had to come to work. I had to come to my family and my relationships and my people with a full cup.
Yeah.
And to expect others to fill my cup was just,
Doesn't work.
it doesn't work.
That's right. So true.
So to show up in my life with an empty cup didn't work.
Yeah.
Like I had to learn to fill my own cup, because with narcissistic people in your life, they drain your cup.
Yeah.
By the end of that, I'm like, well, how do I fill my own cup when I'm so drained? That's been my life learning, is how to fill my own cup.
Yep.
And how to set boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to arrive in your life with the cup that's been filled by you. Your heart is your cup. Your heart has to be full
Totally.
from you, right? From nature, from like, you can't expect other people to do that. I think about kids and how mothers feel so drained because they learn.
Yeah.
They're learning these skills. And all the while they're learning social emotional skills, you are being drained by them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then when they become adult children and they still are like needing from you, at that point, you're like, hang on. It just requires like almost like a reframing.
Yes.
And like a reimagining of like relationships. So at different points in the time, I think this prompt to what softens your heart is probably really important in the process of reframing.
Yeah.
You can take from my cup, but when you start to abuse and you overdo it, that's when I'm going to be like hardened.
Yeah.
I'm putting up my walls and putting it hardening, and I'm getting bitter and resentful.
Yeah.
And that's actually really important feedback. It's protective. It's necessary.
It's protective.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now I'm like, hang on, I don't have time to refill my own cup, and you're taking way too much from me right now.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's really healthy boundaries. That's where like anger and resentment serve us as protection. So they're very useful in those moments. And to speak to your reframing, I've noticed with my own kids, it's kind of like the sex conversation. You don't have it once, you have it repeatedly over years. And the conversation evolves each time. And in this case, it's the conversation around we're all maturing together. We're creating a new relationship now. I've done this with my eldest where we've had this conversation, and it's a growing, evolving, living conversation that is right now about 2.5, 3 years old, of we're creating a new relationship, adult to adult. It doesn't mean that the relationship formed in childhood is insignificant. It's there to inform that we're literally new people now with that history together, but new people. And it requires new relational ways. The encouraging on my side to his autonomy and individuation is an ongoing conversation. Children need that conversation and that energy quite a bit more if they're, for whatever reason, fearful or resistant to individuate. And that's a tight line that I walk. It's like my responsibility to check in continually that my system's not getting drained from nurturing this new relationship to help him individuate. If there's any lesson for a parent to learn when they're being drained, is healthy selfishness. It's such a massive, because it goes against all the societal conditionings, especially for women, around duty, obligation, service, all of that.
It's so true. And so to find like carving out those like 10, 15 minutes for self.
Exactly.
What isn't selfish, but self-care.
Yeah.
Healthy selfishness.
Healthy selfishness. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Dana, can we ask what hardens your heart?
Yeah.
Because you have the most open heart. I'm so curious.
I would echo that same, I am a giver, but if there is no reciprocity, and I used to be just like this constant vessel of outflow.
Yeah.
But I've learned actually that like I do all of my self-care stuff. So I come in with an open heart and a full cup and I offer it as this free-flowing river to others. But I recognize that me allowing that river to flow all the time isn't healthy. So those boundaries have become really important to me. I definitely have an abandonment wound that I work through. So when people that I do, come forward so freely and they, leave me, or there's a lack of appreciation, I think, and I do it so freely and I don't do things with the expectation. But when people don't see and accept this from me over time, I learned like, this isn't healthy for me. This isn't that organic exchange of giving and receiving. And I no longer want to participate in those type of relationships. There's an aspect in my work that's naturally going to be there because that is, the work that I do. However, even those, I learn as much from my clients as they do from me. I just happen to be the space holder in a lot of that. And the ones that, suck me dry, and maybe don't show growth or show that they're even accepting the nuggets and the offerings that we're working together with them in their well-being. Those ones are the ones that I'm letting go of more and more, right? I understand my worth and my value in the world more than ever. And I'm not fighting to keep those that don't see that around anymore.
Wow. Beautiful.
Oh my God. Amen. Hallelujah. Woo!
Yeah.
We're doing the hands up.
Totally.
Yeah, girl.
Who knows? But I feel like that's the healthier expression of the abandonment wound for me, is I've learned to not abandon myself by stepping away from those relationships that don't really serve me anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. We can end on that.
Amazing.
Thanks for being with us today, friends. We hope that you've found value in our stories and some of the practices that we've offered up that help us live life with a soft heart and a hard back. We'd like to close this episode with a quote from Rumi. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Till next time.